Hello, I'm Kenneth Snodgrass, and I just wanted to share with you my new book, which is called From Victimization to Empowerment, The Challenge of African American Leadership, The Need of Real Power. And I just wanted to share with you at this point some of the things that I talk about in my book. As far as the contents that is in it, there's a lot of information that's very relevant and important to the African community. I deal with a number of things in the content analysis section that deals with addressing the question of Maafa, the African Holocaust, the importance of African people standing up, black men to control your destiny, the United States not Detroit, New York, LA is the murder capital of the world, the failure of our educational system, how important it is for our educational system to speak to the question of our history and our culture. I speak to the whole questions of the holiday season and how we should not approach it as consumers, but as a more humanity approach in that of caring for our loved ones. I deal with issues in that of Malcolm X's contributions, the whole significance of African Liberation Day, challenge of leadership, and for us to develop the leadership quality to give leadership to our own community and not depend on others to do so, other people from other communities. I speak to the whole question of international situations that have affected our country, as far as situations in Rwanda, different massacres that have taken place in Africa, the whole Panama situation. I try to speak to the question of gambling as not a panacea but a Trojan horse to various African communities where casinos are moving in. I talk about the importance of teaching our children about our roots. Who will save our children? That I talk about, we can't depend on other people to save our children. It's something that we have to do ourselves. I speak to the whole question of our ancestors were not slaves. They were enslaved by America, and other things of very significant issues. And at this point, I'd just like to share with you the introduction which I have to my book again, which is From Victimization to Empowerment, The Challenge of African American Leadership, The Need of Real Power. And this is the introduction which I'd like to share at this point. The importance of victimization and the empowerment and the challenge of African American leadership, the need of real power by myself. The goals are to be able to help motivate, stimulate, agitate, and facilitate African people to creating the national dialogue necessary to address the necessary issues needed to be discussed in this 21st century. It will help empower African people to become committed to struggling and building the liberation movement of African people so that we will be able to control our own destiny, control our own lives, and speak to the importance of analyzing the problems that African people face today. It will help you become clearer in your analysis and will help you to increase your convictions, dedication, your spirit, and your practice. It will help you to see the importance of seeing yourself as a warrior struggling to bring about a change in our economy, politically, socially, and economically. Change is necessary for African people in the United States and in our diaspora. From Victimization to Empowerment offers analysis, positions, and a plan of action important to these issues such as spirituality, humanity, slavery, the enslavement, saving our children, transformation, disparity, autonomy, crime, collective struggle, freedom, neo-slavery, etc. Issues which we need to discuss as we move forward to self-empowerment and self-autonomy. To offer a historical analysis of the unique development in America, the unique role the African people have played in the development and power and wealth of this country. From Victimization to Empowerment is a living debate of issues, not a book arguing the correctness of other books. It was wrote to empower African people, not as an academic assignment. It discusses the need of why we need to evaluate the past, the present, and the concepts, ideas, projections of our historians, intellectuals, and writers, because there are so many views about our movement at this point. We need to begin answering these questions about our future, with new ideas, a new thought process, new projections, and understanding that it is all right for us to be provocative and controversial in our writings, opinions, and actions. It explains how the public schools and the mass media were two main tools used by the United States to destroy our minds and the minds of our children. It speaks to the role of the U.S. government, the role that our U.S. government had played in the past and present in subjugating African people. It speaks to how the economy of capitalism has enslaved African people and created Maafa, the African Holocaust in the United States. That is why it is ludicrous to think of the idea that capitalism, which enslaved us, will now work to advance our future. This book speaks to how we have been stripped of all of whom we were, our African names, our culture, our identity, our language, our dignity, our pride, our respect, our system of how we understand the world around us. After reading From Victimization to Empowerment, you will realize many of the myths about African people. For example, African people have had nothing to do with the growth of wealth and power in the United States is historically incorrect. Why the myth of progress through voting, even though African people since 1960 have elected thousands of officials to office, things have only gotten worse. Unemployment, blacks in prisons, blacks living in poverty, and crime have all got worse. You will see the importance of why African people always have been two Americas in this country. One white and racist and privileged, and blacks oppressed and underdevelopment. And why white America actions have doomed our race to oppression and the stage of permanent underclass in America, to be used by corporate America, and why we as African people must empower ourselves to take action to gain power and wealth in the 21st century. Our ancestors who were enslaved in America didn't die just for the right to vote, to be able to live next to whites. They died fighting for the right to be free and to be treated as human beings, to be treated as citizens. They died working to build a society where they could raise their children to be free of prejudice, free of racism, so they could develop as full human beings. And until this problem of racism, power, and wealth are resolved, America would continue to be a racist, prejudiced, and in the state of turmoil. Until America has radically had a redistribution of its wealth and economic power, there can be no social and human justice. From Victimization and Empowerment challenge you to struggle to build a new economy that will see human beings as the center of all development, not economic profit. It is important that we continue to encourage you to be unique. We must talk about America's problems and work to offer solutions to them. We must think about these issues and see the importance of them. In reading this book, you will feel your soul and your creativity. It is very important that you develop your strength, your creativity, and this writing will attempt to address these daily issues that African people face in this collective process as a way of empowering ourselves. And it's important that we want to organize ourselves and others to change the way things are. Victimization and empowerment is important to our transformation, being an African American in America, and the need for political struggle locally, nationally, and internationally. This will show you the importance of developing yourself so you can commit yourself to struggling to change the world around us, and why we need to reclaim our rich heritage and our greatness. Thank you.